Our winter storm is still going on. We have about 4 or 5 hours to go before it's all said and done. Should be over with around or a little after midnight, plus or minus, depending on your location. But this has been one big storm system with so many weird things that have been happening. So we're going to talk about that the week ahead and what the long range may or may not bring if we get that far or if I last that long. Tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Please, by all means, do by shopping on Amazon using our referral link that's pinned to the top of the chat board. And it's also on the descriptor of this podcast on YouTube. Actually, the Amazon link is not pinned to the top of the chat board. The Tempest one is, but you can find the Amazon one on YouTube. So make sure that you just go click and do your shopping. Amazon throws us some coin for sending you there, keeps this podcast commercial free, the live version, and we appreciate very much those of you who have done so. Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this podcast. And there's a coupon code, Joe Rayo. Tell us what that coupon code is.
It is winter. Winter. Yes, I can assure all of you now, it is indeed winter. Winter 2026. And if you use that coupon code with Tempest, you could purchase anything there at 10% off. A good deal.
Yes. Or as Martha Stewart say, it's a beautiful thing. So, anyway.
Does the Tempest weather station work with batteries?
Solar.
It's all solar?
It's all solar.
I mean, I hate to say it, I do not have a Tempest weather station. It is a very good weather station, but it also has solar panels, but it also
Right.
runs on batteries. And I've been getting notations over the last few days. Gee, I wonder why. Battery is low on the outside sensor, and now on the console today, it indicated battery power was low.
Yeah,
And
there's rechargeable batteries in there, and it uses solar. It's so you just there's no wires, no nothing. It's great. There's just a little hub that you plug in on the inside through your wireless, and you run it on your mobile device. And this has turned out to be a long commercial for Tempest. So,
yes,
and that's a good thing.
yes, it
Okay,
is.
so what's that?
I said yes, it's a good thing.
Yeah. So, strange day all the way around in so many different respects. I was we were talking on the phone, Joe and I earlier, and I've been at this for almost, I think it's like 47 years or whatever it is. Um, and the one thing that I've always enjoyed about it is the fact that no matter how many years I've done this, it seems like once or twice a year I still see things that I've never seen before. And today was one of those days where I saw things, and it was the way the observation and the snow and the sleet set up, and the wedge down the eastern seaboard with the bitter cold air. Um, it was odd to see sleet literally coming into southwest Pennsylvania and moving up through the western part of New Jersey, coming over the top into New York City and western Long Island. And in the meantime, while that was happening, it was snowing heavily up and down the New Jersey coast and in some of the inland places. And then even when the coast changed to rain, you still had the cold air. We kind of thought this was going to happen, where the cold air was going to, you know, wedge down to some degree. I just never expected to see the sleet line. Literally, it wasn't how the models displayed it as this sort of lifting wall. It was literally almost like an arm that came around and over the top, and then settled down, and then it's been wobbling back and forth for the last 4 or 5 hours. Just really, really strange. And I'll show it on the surface map in a minute. But another thing, a funny thing that turned out, Tom Contino brought this up, and I've been thinking about this all day. I should have just my. This is the second time this winter where my early call forecast map was perfect, like almost perfect, and I should have just left it alone. But I got cute yesterday and nudged. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, I just nudged some coastal numbers down. It just turned out I didn't have to do that. But all in all, this kind of played out, pretty well as far as forecast is. If anybody's got any complaints, uh, you really ought to go get some therapy because there shouldn't be anything from the forecast standpoint to complain about.
One of the things that my sister had remarked was that she still lives where we used to live, Joe, Throg's Neck, and she lives in an apartment overlooking Eastchester Bay. And she says the most remarkable thing that she has seen in recent days, Eastchester Bay is frozen solid. And she said, I wonder if you could walk across Eastchester. Eastchester. I said I wouldn't try it, at
No,
least not
you know
just
what?
yet.
Maybe
But
at the end of this week you could
yeah,
try.
yeah, it's been a long time since we've seen this type of cold manifest itself over the tri-state area. And as you just said, it looks like it's going to remain cold through the rest of the month of January.
And into February, the long range weeklies are cold for a through the whole month of February and even lasting into the first week of March, if the European has its way.
It is
So
amazing.
it really is. I want to show you this weather guy on Twitter, who I follow. I think is a really smart forecaster. So I want to give him credit for putting this up because it sort of explains what happened today. And this was one of those weird situations. It was so brutally cold at levels in the atmosphere, and yet above that really cold level, at about 9,500 feet, you had this little warm nose that came up and caused the sleet. But there's a loop, and the other thing too, Joe, is a lot of the radar sites that show precipitation type were showing snow where it was actually sleeting, which was really weird. But this is a radar loop that he put up, and he shows the sleet line and how it gets to where the thermal gradient was at its strongest, which was basically from Long Island and New York City northward. And you see the sleet being reflected on the radar, hitting that thermal gradient line and just bouncing right off of it. This was back at around 2 o'clock this afternoon. I thought this was really fascinating because then on the backside of this, you still had that heavy snow going on. Then you jumped over a bunch of miles into Pennsylvania going straight west, and you wind up back in the sleet again. But you can see the sleet coming up, hits that thermal gradient, and then just bounces off. And this has been, like as I said, this all afternoon into early this evening. We've seen a number of stations on Long Island and New York City going from heavy sleet to moderate snow to a mix of both. But I wanted to at least bring this up because if you don't follow Content Weather Guy, uh, you really should. He's very smart. He knows his meteorology and his synoptic meteorology. He's not a model forecaster. He's an actual, hands-on, gets into the weeds uh, better than anybody I know. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up there.
It was quite a day. I can say right now to all of you who are watching in the immediate tri-state area that probably if you live in New York and across Long Island, I think, Joe, that the residual snow that you're going to see is probably going to amount to an inch or less. I really don't see any kind of sizable or major accumulation.
Well, it's mostly sleet there. I mean, it's mostly heavy
Yeah,
sleet now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's if you're looking for additional snow, it's not going to happen to any degree. You have to go, let's say, north of I-287 in the lower Hudson Valley to see maybe an inch or two, and further north up where I am, up toward I-84, where we have sleet, but it's like very fine sleet, and mixed with a little bit of snow. You might put down another couple, 3 inches of snow on top of what you've already received to this hour. I, Joe, received here in Putnam Valley somewhere between 11 and 12 inches. I didn't really have a chance to make an accurate measurement. I usually, go around the property and stick a ruler in and average out 7 or 8 or 9 observations. But I only did a couple of measurements, 11 to 12 inches, maybe another couple more before the night is over. It is certainly one of our larger snowfalls that we've had. But I tell you what makes this stand out in my mind or my memory is going out to blow the snow and with temperatures hovering right around 10 degrees. That's not
Yeah,
fun.
that's always, we had two winters. Everybody forgets it. I don't. 2013, 14, and 14, 15. The vast majority of the snow events were with temperatures in the teens, and also in some cases even the single digits. So it's unusual, but and hasn't happened in a while. Those winters. I was just always amazed that every time it snowed, it was, we were dealing with temperatures under 20 degrees. It was a marvel because you didn't have to struggle with the rain. Basically didn't need to struggle with the rain snow line. By the way, New York City Central Park, Joe, 10.6 so far out of this. That puts them above normal for both December and January. And Scott Briller, our chairman, looked this up yesterday and messaged me because I had asked the question about when was the last time Central Park had back to back above normal snow months, and it was back in 2018. So it's been 7 years since we've had 2 months back to back where snowfall in New York City is above normal. And of course, it's not just New York City; it's everybody in this region uh, for the first time. Last bunch of winters have not, particularly for the coast, have not been um, very generous in their snowfalls. But everybody's running above normal, and some places probably have already made their normal snowfall for the entire season.
And I would be negligent if I did not mention. I know that you made the announcement at noontime that I wasn't on at noon because of our oil burner went on the fritz, and quite a day for it to go on the fritz, right? With temperatures most of the day in the single digits and lower teens. But there is a neighbor of mine who lives down the road. I'll just simply say her name is Pat. Big fan of the Joe and Joe show. And when you made that announcement, Joe, she decided that it was time to help her neighbor. And now picture this, I'm on my driveway with my snowblower blowing away the 11 or 10 or 11 inches of snow that had accumulated on my driveway. And Renata was scraping with a shovel. And the road that I live on was modestly kept going. I mean, the plow came up the road on one side, not both sides or both lanes. But here, my neighbor coming up the road, and I do mean up because I live on kind of a slope or on a hill, with a red wagon, a large red wagon, pulling along the red wagon, and in that wagon there was not one, not two, but three electric oil radiators, which she was coming up the road. She heard about our plight with the burner and came to loan us her three radiators so that we would be able to stay warm tonight here in our home. Just an absolutely amazing, and she did this while it was sleeting and snowing. Coming up the road and just pulling that pulling that pulling it along. Well, I just want to show you if I do I have
Yeah,
share
hold on.
capability?
Let me turn it
Yeah.
on. No, it is on. I did.
Yes.
I, I'm kind of absent-minded this afternoon because I've been doing nothing but weather for last 2 days. Oh, there's a
Here's
little pup.
here's Mr. Sweeney, my dog, or our dog. My wife and I uh, got this rescue dog back in 2023, and I guess he's doing the inspection of the three three heaters that were delivered by my neighbor down the road. And Pat, I know you're watching, and I can't thank you enough for doing this. It just goes to show, Joe, that there are still some good people in this world. And I want to thank you for making the announcement on Joe and Joe, because
Uh,
I guess there are a lot of people out there who not necessarily are on the chat board who listen to whatever you say, and immediately when you made that comment, uh, my neighbor went into action and saved us by bringing up these three heaters. So
well,
again,
I
Pat, thank you
was,
very,
was
very much.
very happy to do it. If I knew this was going to be the outcome, I would have thrown in that you lost sacks of money. So so you could have had, you know, maybe Capital One Bank or something would be driving down with an armored car and dropping bags of money off. But
Yeah.
just real quick, is attached to the hip. I don't know if I told you this on the phone when your heater went out. Okay, because you and I have often talked about how we're attached at the hip when things happen to you. They oftentimes happen to me, and back vice versa. I took before the show this morning about 10 o'clock. I took a power surge, and this was before you
Oh.
called me. I took a power, we took a power surge, and the power went out for about 5 seconds. I really didn't think anything of it. The only thing I noticed was the fact that when it happened, it kind of felt like the house moved. You know, it just ever so slightly, but I felt like a little some kind of movement. Anyway, uh, I have to call the electrician because now my kitchen lights aren't working. So I think the light switch got burned out in the surge. So so you lost. Look, you and I both. I may have lost just the power switch, and you lost your heater, but I guarantee you, this is well, for both of us. It's going to be a several $100 repair.
Well, whatever. We picture this now. Renata and I were outside for about an hour and a half in 8-degree weather, each one of us holding a hair dryer because we had looked up on the internet, and one of the indications that your burner goes down in frigid weather like this is that the oil has congealed, or maybe a bit of water has gotten into the line and froze and
Uh,
literally has clogged up the line. However, we have learned since that from one of the people, a gentleman who does an annual inspection and annual cleaning. We told him what the manufacturer of the oil tank is, and he said, "Oh, that wouldn't happen with that oil tank. It probably is a glitch in the system or whatever." And hopefully, he'll be able to get somebody over here tomorrow to unglitch what we have out there right now.
all right, well, good. All right, so you get yours fixed. I'm going to wait for a while before I call the electrician because the last time it cost me a small fortune to get
And
some
that
stuff.
also the other thing, as you know, I think I mentioned to you off air, is our generator burned out or is not
Yes.
working either. And that this was stupid here. This is my fault. We had not used that generator since August of 2024 when we had a very heavy rain and windstorm which knocked out power for a few hours. So, of course, as we normally do, we rolled the generator out and used it. I had not used that generator since. And I left the fuel line, there's a switch on there for the fuel line, I left it open. So obviously, over the span of the last 16 months or so,
Yeah.
fuel or gas has gotten into the carburetor, gunked it up, and that's probably the reason why the generator doesn't work either. So
All right, but
it's
you
been
have some.
it's been quite a few days for yours truly.
Yes. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board and those of you lurking in the background. Hopefully, you were here earlier today because then it's your second time to the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We are here usually Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, but I can tell you right now, we're not going to be on tomorrow. Okay, so we'll be back on Tuesday. So we're taking tomorrow off. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, by all means, hit the like button. We've been getting multiple bell rings from Joe for climbing up over 100 like levels, 3 and 4 times on each show and getting up to 400. Here comes the first one. So we appreciate that.
124.
Thank you. So
124.
okay, so if you like the show, hit the like button. Okay, still have winter storm warnings up from Maine, but not all the way to New Mexico. Now it's only back to Indiana and Kentucky and North Carolina. And we still have ice storm warnings. Talk about weird weather weird weather setup, so I'm going to get into what happened down here. Ice storm warnings still up for parts of northeast Georgia and into much of South Carolina and western North Carolina. All the dark blue you see is for extreme cold that is coming down. That's going to be a running theme for the next couple of weeks or more, considering what's happening in the upper atmosphere. And we've got also uh, cold weather alerts, whatever you want to call them. Put your, make sure you go. We were talking about this the other day, saying it's like the weather service being your mother and telling you to make sure you put on gloves and take a scarf and a coat when you go out. Okay, still rolling along with stuff on the radar. There is some areas of heavy sleet and some moderate snow across Long Island back to New York City and into northeastern New Jersey. You can see some of the stronger echoes here. And also in the lower Hudson Valley, looks like maybe from northern Westchester County southward and southwest Connecticut. Heavy bands of snow. And in fact, uh, areas along Buzzards Bay, Joe, I almost wonder why they didn't put up blizzard warnings up because they've been meeting that they met the criteria for it, and they even met the temperature criteria for it when there was a temperature criteria, but still they got winter storm warnings, and that pretty much tells the story. Raining along the coastal counties of New Jersey and in parts of South Jersey. Still sleeting with temperatures in the upper teens and low 20s in eastern Pennsylvania. Starting to see that back edge, a little bit of a dry slot here that has worked its way up into central Pennsylvania. That's moving along. There's another patch of some heavier echoes behind that. So I think between say 11 p.m. and 2 a.m you're going to see this everything start to pull out from west to east.
I would agree. I would agree. And I said to Renata, when she was asking when are we going to go out to use the snowblower and to clear away what has already fallen. I said 4 o'clock because on the radar was showing for most of the midday and early afternoon shades of green, which indicated moderate to heavy precipitation. But the back edge of that was crossing through our vicinity around 4 o'clock, and I said, okay, it's still going to be doing something, snow, sleet, whatever, but it's going to be at a much lighter intensity than what we've been dealing with, and that was the time. And again, we spent the 2.5 hours outside getting rid of or trying to get rid of. We're going to go back out tomorrow, obviously, in the morning to do the final job, so to speak. But we did a pretty. When you have a driveway that's over 200 feet long, it takes a little time to clear away, 10, 11, 12 inches of snow.
Yeah, we also, by the way, have heavy precip through central Virginia and central North Carolina. And normally you'd look at this and you'd say, well, it's probably rain showers, but it's not. It's freezing rain that is moving through both those states and heading eastward and even into parts of South Carolina. Um, I want to just show everybody the surface map today because this is really how weird things were, and I mean why they were the way they were. Maybe weird is not the right word. It's just the way the meteorology set up. But I want to show you this surface map, and if you you wonder why we got this sleet that developed, and it was all due to a warm layer way up in the atmosphere, like at around 9,500 feet. Um, the normal levels that we look at, the 850 millibar level at 500, for about 4,500 feet. Usually, if the temperature is below, you want to see like -2 or less, and that's indicative for snow. And you kind of look to see where the zero line is. So what was really strange was Philadelphia, just as an example, when they changed over the sleet, their temperature at that level of the atmosphere was -8. I mean, that's crazy that it shouldn't be snowing, but it was above that near the 700 millibar level, or about 9,500 or 10,000 feet, that you had this warm nose that kind of came up. And I think it screwed up a lot of the radars. I got to talk to Bill Goodman because he might know, what the reason is behind why, some of the radars that showed precipitation type were showing snow rather than showing sleet. Maybe some kind of technical glitch, but look at the surface map. And here's the other reason why. You had the primary went up the west side of the Appalachians, and a lot of times when you don't have Arctic air like this, a storm going up the west side of the Appalachians is a no-brainer, snow changing to rain from south to north. And here's your secondary. But the primary was stronger than the secondary, and that allowed this warm nose to come up. But also, look at this wedge that went all the way down into North and South Carolina and Georgia. We're talking temperatures in the teens and 20s, nosing in. And the funny thing was, Joe, I'm in Northeast Georgia and I'm in the mountains. I'm in that yellow area that you see on the map. Okay. I had very little icing last night. When I woke up there was a little glaze at around 9:30, 10 o'clock last night.
And that's
When I woke up,
amazing.
yeah, and when I woke up this morning, it was 35 degrees here. It was raining, okay, we didn't get a whole lot of rain all night, like all during the night, because there was a lot of dry air that was down here, that had funneled down, and every time you had echoes coming out of Alabama and into Georgia, by the time they got here, they got eaten up and they just evaporated. But um, the cold air, while I was sitting at 35, Atlanta, which is about 100 miles south to my southwest, they were down at 30. And Athens, Georgia, which is about, I think it's about 80 miles to my southeast, they were at 25. It was just really strange. And in Western North Carolina in Murphy, which is only about a 20-minute drive for me, they were up around 40 for a while this morning. I was trying to come to an understanding of how the mountains here just sort of impact every aspect of weather in every different direction. That was another strange thing that I did not anticipate. But this wedging like this created a bit of an upside down type of atmosphere where we had the weirdness of sleet coming up from Washington D.C. and Baltimore, and then into southeast PA, and then just coming over the top to New York City and into Long Island. And while that was happening, it came up kind of like this, and there's your sleet line. And while that was going on, it was all snow in central and southern New Jersey, and not just piddly snow. We're talking, moderate to heavy snow at 1 to 2 inches an hour. And it's just really, it was a lesson. It was a lesson to pay attention when you get these situations when you've got really dense Arctic air. And we've been saying all week that it was all about this big high that's sitting up in northern Maine, and this evening it's still sitting up in northern Maine.
That amazing. That and again, that's one of my colleagues when I used to work at a private weather forecasting service. He went to Penn State, and I think it was Alfred Blackadere. Alfred Blackadere was the name of the professor, and my colleague used to refer to him as the old man. And whenever we got into a scenario like what we have just seen, he says, you got to look for the old man's high. He always talked about that. That was the thing, more important than the storm, the big high.
Big
And you
high.
want to know what? And you want to know what? He was absolutely right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And there are reports going on now that I've seen on the chat board and also from my snow removal guys who were messaging me. Uh, they're always messaging me. God bless them. Um, the secondary now is taking over and strengthening. The primary all day today was stronger than the secondary. Now the secondary is finally strengthening. The primary is going to go away, and that's allowing some colder air to drain back southward. So a few places that have had sleet um, have reportedly gone back to snow. And I think we're probably going to see this back and forth for a little while we still have the leftover precipitation to get through. Here's a satellite tonight. You can see this storm system in the east. And again, this was not any kind of wrapped up cyclone. It was basically overrunning a flat wave on a Arctic boundary, bitter cold Arctic air, very warm tropical air on the other side. It was in the 70s in South Georgia today, just as an example. All of that feeding into this widespread I think amazing storm. I mean, to me, it's the setup. This to me was, I'm going to remember this one for a while. This one I enjoyed.
And what we have said with this storm, and you said it to me earlier today on the phone, and I've heard baseball announcers, longtime commentators like a Lindsey Nelson or a Vin Scully or a Jack Buck. Uh, they all used to say, I come to the ballpark every day in anticipation of seeing something I've never seen before, and that's true sometimes in baseball, and that's true also with meteorology. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a setup quite like this. I mean, I've seen some similar scenarios, but certainly nothing similar to what we've gone through. And it's been a long time in coming. I know not a few of you, at the beginning of this winter season were, saying, here we go. It's going to be another winter. It's either going to be cold, but we're not going to get any snow or whatever like that. And there was one person who I have not seen on the chat board tonight, thank God, who threw a temper tantrum just yesterday saying, it's going to be all ice. We're not going to get any snow. Oh, no, no,
And
it,
there's
it,
a few people are complaining that they were all bent out of shape because it changed over to sleet. Just grow up already, will you
you
please?
know,
You got a 10
you
or
know,
11
if
inch
you,
snowfall, so we changed to sleet. Big deal,
folks,
you
folks,
know.
if 8, 10, 12 inches of snow is not enough for you before the change over to
Go
sleet,
move up to near the Great Lakes then.
I don't even know what to tell you. And we even
I
said
got
back in
I know
the,
what to tell you. Go up and move to Watertown. Go up and move to
yeah,
all the lake effect places and just sit there and watch them come off the lake. If you're
in
expecting that
19
to
in
happen here, it's never
1978
going to happen.
in 1978, the two big storms we had in 78, the blizzard of 78 in February and the one that came a couple of weeks before, that dumped like 15, 16 inches of snow in New York. But yet at the tail end, New York had ice, sleet, even a bit of plain rain. I can just imagine some of the people on the chat board tonight saying, "Oh darn it, it changed over." You know, give me a break. Give me a break. If you didn't get enough snow today, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, just if you're complaining about this, this was a really, if you're a weather geek, you should have been licking your chops over this one, because it gave you everything, including things. I mean, you don't often see 5 hours in a row of heat, of sleet plus. Okay, I mean that's highly unusual. You have to go back to Valentine's Day of 2007, where there was a sleet storm in the Northeast that actually wound up being very problematic. I actually remember driving in it, and it was not fun. So
No,
here's the. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
no, I'm just uh, Craig Allen, whose birthday was yesterday, and a certain other famous meteorologist's birthday is coming up, I believe,
Oh, who's
on
that?
on Tuesday, is it?
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, but Craig Allen was talking about,
Greg Allen, who is far older than I am, by the way. Just want to make that clear. Far older. Go on.
he was on his Facebook page talking about, he went to a long dissertation about this particular storm, and Chris Semino answered him back saying good luck because he was doing the forecast, I think, for the CBS radio network or whatever. And I wrote back to Craig. I said, first of all, happy natal day, and second of all, I'm glad I'm retired. I'm glad I don't have to. I'm glad I don't have the stress of having to worry about getting a phone call from somebody at the network saying, I need that forecast now, or what is going to happen now, or if I were in television, where are you? We need you to come in, and you have to drive and all of this stuff. I don't have to do that now. Of course, what did I do today? I stood knee deep in snow with a hair dryer trying to warm up my burner, my oil burner. But I would have preferred to do that as opposed to the old days when Joe and I used to go on television and have somebody tell us what to say and what to do or whatever. No, those days are gone. Craig, if you like doing that, I salute you.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it either. That's that. That's it. I just had to answer one of my snow removal guys because somebody, was already talking about next weekend because of what the 18Z AI is doing and what several runs of models have been doing over the last couple of days. I'm going to tell you right now, folks, my brain is so fried from this first thing. Whenever and I have a standard policy that when I'm knee deep in something that's happening in front of me, other than giving it a really a cursory look, okay, just run the map through just so I can see what happened. I just don't pay any attention to it. So tomorrow being off, we get back on Tuesday. If it's an issue, we'll get into it, and I'll briefly show this in the meantime. So here's our storm system pulling out. Now there's a upper trough that still has to get through tomorrow morning. That may actually produce some scattered snow showers, particularly in maybe where you are, Joe, in Connecticut, Long Island, maybe back to New York City tomorrow morning. If it happens, it'll be brief. Maybe the ground gets whitened, maybe it doesn't. And then it's Arctic air. I mean, that's really the story for the whole week. We're going to see nighttime lows in the single digits to low teens, daytime highs barely back into the 20s from Tuesday, probably right through Saturday. And there's another big cold high coming up. Now, this may set some sort of development next weekend. You see a low there, well off the southeast coast and moving out. There were runs days ago that were bringing it closer. And then, of course, you have the AI this afternoon, the late 18Z AI, which did bring something up the coast somewhere. I have to find it. That's 12Z. So here's the 18Z, and I'll roll it back. This only doesn't show precipitation type, but there it is. You see a low off develop. It has a low in the Bahamas. Low repops up in North Carolina. There's an upper low that's dropping down into Kentucky and Tennessee, and you got again the idea that maybe there'd be a strong storm system moving up the eastern seaboard offshore, or maybe that it's offshore means that by the time we get here, it'll be a coast hugger. Okay, that's about as much as I'm going to say about this because um, my my brain's fried. I mean, it's literally fried, Joe. I don't want to say anything more.
For years, people were crying about the lack of snow, and I've said this about California, how California goes through several years of drought. They don't get a drop of rain during the winter time when they're supposed to get the rain. It doesn't happen to the degree that they were hoping for. And I always say, Ms. Nature always balances the checkbook.
Yeah,
I don't know how or when. And sure enough, after 3, 4 years or whatever, bing, you get this atmospheric river, and California gets drenched with more rain than they need. And I said the same thing about us. I said we've gone through like 4 or 5 consecutive below normal years in terms of snow at Central Park, and I said it's not something that's going to be permanent. Nature will come back, and nature will bring you all the snow you want. And it looks like this particular winter. I don't know about next winter or the following winter or whatever like that, but this winter, I think we're going to make up a lot for all the other winters the last several years that we have not seen much in terms of significant snowfall. So
yeah.
we'll
I
see.
mean, there's always a reversion to the mean. It always happens.
Yep.
Let me just go through super chats. I missed a few yesterday, and I'm sorry for those of you if you put super chat yesterday and I didn't acknowledge you. I don't remember. I only managed to remember one person and it was Tom Contino that hit the tip jar yesterday. So I just want to thank him and everybody else who hit the tip jar on one of the shows. It was either yesterday or this morning because the last 3 or 4 days are now kind of feeling like one long day to me. Sean 530 today. Jason Kaplan. Joseph Carr, Robert Lemnicki, and Delaware Weather Guy, all banging the tip jar tonight, which we really do appreciate. And I'm, I don't know, I really don't have much else to add here. I'm, you know, we've still got a few hours left of the snow and sleet that's falling outside. Or if you're on the Jersey Shore, there's rain. Although there's colder air that's sweeping around, it's probably going to may turn it back to sleet or even may turn it back to snow before it ends. But for the most part, the worst of it is it, you know, the vast majority of it is done, and we just have to get through the next few hours, and then we'll head into the cold air. And by the way, longer term, Joe, the polar vortex is going to split in two in an almost unprecedented way in sometime in about a week to 10 days. And Dr. Judah Cohen has been very bullish about this, and talking about the potential maybe for some extreme cold during the middle part of the month. I mean, colder than what we've got here, what we're looking at for this week. So it would be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Well, I have nothing more to add myself. I've had quite a day, and what else can I tell all of you except rest up? And when we come back on Tuesday, we're all going to wish Mr. Cioffi a happy birthday.
Yes. Jason Barry, to answer your question for Joe, um, it doesn't happen that often, but we actually had two winters, 2013-14 and 2014-15, where virtually every snow system, and we had a lot of them in those 2 years, virtually every snow system, we got snow with temperatures in the teens and in some cases in the single digits. It was the signature character of those two particular winters, and we haven't seen it in a while, clearly. It's been 10 years, more than 10 years, 11 years, but it does happen from time to time. And usually when it happens once, it happens more than once. So who knows? We may have to, we may get to see this again. And you may get to see us again on Tuesday at 7:35. So bye bye.
Bye bye, folks.